Hello everyone, Leaf Reed here, and today I thought I would do a bookcase reveal. So I have everything here that I've mostly ever read. I think pretty much everything that goes on the shelf is pretty much what I've read, and everything that I need to read goes up on my chest of drawers. But anyway, I thought I'd just kind of bring you through some of the stuff here that I might have read it, maybe not just talked about, but just kind of see the general chaos of my bookshelf. Someone says, someone's space or whatever reflects their soul or something. So, this is my bookshelf. And so the way I've organized my books is not by author, not by color or whatever. I've seen that some people organize their bookcase by color. It's really interesting, actually. But I just do it by size. And so I'm trying to just optimize space altogether. So the first thing you may notice is that this entire row here, this is, Full Metal Alchemist. This is the first manga I ever bought, actually, and the only manga collection I've ever completed. When I realized that each book was about, $10, and, altogether there's about 27 or so books in the series. That's when I realized, I'm spending $300 on this stuff. That's almost like a new game console. That's when I realized that's probably not the best idea. But yeah, I know there it is still in a semi pristine condition, the classic FMA. An amazing series. If people ask my opinion on it, I definitely do enjoy FMA as a manga, but I actually do I'm one of those people who thinks the original anime is actually better than Brotherhood, because Brotherhood follows it almost too closely, and I don't know, just some of the magic is lost in Brotherhood, even the stuff that they've retread on. But yeah. So yeah, let's just go through all of this stuff. Let's see here. Yeah, it's all pretty much space optimization. This is basically like a Tetris arrangement. So here we have, Don Quixote. You guys know about that. Drinking with the Saints, Ulysses. This is a book I'm probably not going to talk about. This is a Treatise of Human Nature by David Hume. I just can't read this. I literally cannot read this book. It's like one of these old philosophy books where they're just trying to sound all smarter than each other, or maybe I'm just filtered by it. But this is the book where I was misled, maybe, but there's a quote by David Hume which says that passion precedes reason, and I think it's very much true in the sense that people have emotional arguments and then they create logical arguments to cover that up, and then people are just kind of strung along by their own ideologies, which are really scapegoats for how they actually feel. Sometimes, there's a lot of very emotional things that people get into, and then they have a logical reasoning around that belief system. So I thought, I'd like to learn more about human nature from Mr. Hume here, and, let's give you an example. It will not be surprising after this if I deliver a maxim which is condemned by several metaphysicians, and is esteemed contrary to the most certain principles of reason. This maxim is that an object may exist and yet be nowhere, and I assert that this is not only possible, but the greatest part of beings do and must exist in this manner. So this is a kind of rudimentary, physics, chemistry, science, pseudoscience before science, I guess, was kind of actualized. So this is someone's just kind of jests and musings over things like physics and what is reality, and just kind of musings, really, and just kind of ideas, but and notions, really. There's nothing in here. Well, I'm sure there's something in here that is a distinct, direct idea, because when you look at people's philosophy, you look at what is actually usable and practical. Like Pascal's wager is a very clear end goal thing, and so for David Hume, I can't. I just can't do it. So I bought the book, and it sits on my shelf, and it looks nice, I guess, but definitely something that I just absolutely can't read. And I also started just stacking them here. I usually hate blocking off my other books, but I feel like there's no other really place to put them. I do have an empty shelf up here, honestly, but that right now has a bunch of like old anime posters on there that I don't really want to take down, essentially, or like I've taken them down, but I don't want to put anything on top of them because I want them to be accessible, but I also want my books to be accessible. And I guess, if I ever want to look at my old anime posters, I can do that. Yeah, so I've started putting them up here now. So we have the Fourth Industrial Revolution, Three Keys of Solomon, Industrial Future, King of Yellow, the Book of Enoch, Faust, really hard book to read, Paradise Lost, and then we have, a book series from my childhood, which is the Aragon book series, which I might actually review. It's been a while since I've read it. It was kind of light, diet Lord of the Rings, terrible movie. I watched it for my birthday, and it was really, really bad. Aside from that, let's see, Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules to Life, Divine Comedy, the Battle for God. I'm not sure if I talked about this one, actually. This is a book by Karen Armstrong, and she just talks about Islam, Christianity, and Judaism in the modern age, and kind of, their kind of eras, so Protestantism to Catholicism, Wahhabi jihadism versus Sunni and Shia, and Sufi Islam, and then, Orthodox Judaism versus modern secular-ish right-wing Judaism in Israel, that kind of stuff. And she gives them all like a fair kind of shakedown and see what they're all about, essentially. Let's see, we have the Ruby out of Omar Khayyam. This is one I haven't talked about. It probably won't. I don't know. Star Wars Darth Bane, Path of Destruction. When I was a kid, I was really into a lot of Star Wars books. It was like the only genre that was sci-fi in my school library. Like, if I recall, my school's public education reading curriculum, it was all girl books. It was all Sarah Plain and Tall. It was all like, here's two girls, or they're going on an adventure. They don't even go on adventures. They didn't do anything. There's a girl who's interested in a boy. Wow. So I had to scrimp and look around and find things that were actually interesting. And, basically the Star Wars books were a huge part of my childhood. And I think I gave all those away to a nephew or something because, I obviously wasn't going to read them again, but I guess like he would read them. So it was one of the few like series of books that I wouldn't mind giving away. Even though I've read them as part of my collection, it's like they're not exactly good books either. When you look back at them, you're like, oh yeah, this is readable, but it's not good, But it wasn't bad either, It wasn't terrible. It wasn't Sarah Plain at all. So, this is the Thus Spoke Zarathustra by Nietzsche. Here I think I have some Dojins. This one is, I picked this up a while ago. This was Dojin from Ami Tomoe, and it's just like her daily life. It's not one of those Dojins. Yeah, she's just like, hey, what's up, Homura? And she's like, QB. And I remember when I was learning Japanese, I would use this as, kind of, not source material, but, there it is. There's just, the nice art of Maimasan. And as you can tell, Mammy is one of my favorite characters. And so what happens in this, a little like Kyubey tries to cook some curry, and he succeeds, and they kind of sit down to eat. They have a tea party, and they are talking about stuff. Mammy has some sake and gets drunk, and then she says something, and they all go gasp. But yeah, no, and then that's pretty much it. Like, this is like only like 7 pages. But, there it is. It's very, very nice, very cute. I just like there's a lot of, I guess, Dojin covers out there, but I just like how, this feels very nice. It's very nicely decorated, and it's a very short, simple story. So I was like, why not? And I can't remember if I got this at a anime convention or actually in Japan when I went. Aside from that, here's actually a book series I might want to talk about. Bedlam. This was a graphic novel series that, man, it's been a while since I read this. As I understand it, this guy who created this, essentially he was being contracted to do a story on the Joker, and this was during the Dark Knight era. And so apparently they lost the license to the Joker or whatever, so he made up his own character, and I just really love this. I mean, this is a pretty dark, pretty sick kind of story, but it is similar. This is kind of like the anti-superhero before anti-superhero shows became a thing. So the main character called Matter Red, I actually remembered his name, is this Joker-like character who essentially, is this crazy schizo, and he goes around, doing Joker-esque things, basically. And then you have his adversary, which is like the Batman clone, and honestly, I thought it was pretty good for the time. Outside of that, let's see what here. Oh, we have the Watchmen graphic novel. I don't really like Watchmen. I watched the movie and I thought, oh, this is kind of cool. I wonder if the source material is like, how they messed up the movie version. But the source material is pretty consistent with the movie, honestly. It's just the ending that's different, where essentially it's based off of a bunch of government conspiracy stuff like Project Blue Beam, where essentially they have to fake an alien attack on New York, and in which case they, the Russians and the Americans get together to unite against the one threat, even though it's totally fake or something. Now this is the Halo graphic novel. This was, back when Halo was still kind of an emerging IP, the idea of a video game having a graphic novel was like, oh no, that's crazy, And so this is one of the first ones to come out, if I recall. And if I recall as well, there are 4 stories in here. One's about Sergeant Johnson escaping the flood, kind of that little backstory in Halo 1 where, how did he get out? There's another one about the Van Houthie or Routhen, or what the heck, the guy who's missing half his mandible in Halo 2, that Covenant captain. It tells him how he fought the flood one time and, the origin behind his wound, essentially. So they're on this Covenant ship, and it's kind of been infected, with all of this flood-like, enemies, essentially, and so they have to fight their way through the ship. Pretty cool stuff. Yeah, I think, honestly, the art for the Sergeant Johnson one, though, is probably my favorite. It's just really diverse, lots of deep blues, deep oranges, deep reds, purples, greens, crazy stuff. I love also, I think, this shot in particular with the shotgun shell, because it shows it as these little pellets just as it's coming out. I don't know, this is really interesting art. And then finally, the last one they have is the invasion of New Mombasa, I believe, and I hate the art in this one. This is just, it's very cheap, very cartoony, and it's supposed to be like a lead up to Halo 3, because I think Halo 3 hadn't come out at this point. I can't remember. And then the last bit, they just have fan art in general that people had done that they just compiled. So this is kind of like a weird one that you definitely don't see a lot of anymore. I feel like everything now has a graphic novel or at least a comic book or something, but when this first came out, even the Halo books, when they first came out, it was kind of like a big deal. It was like, oh, cool, this is, this is different, right? Let's see, this is kind of a rare one, too. This is a Japanese magazine I bought while I was in Japan, and it had Miku on the front, so, like, how could I not? And has an advertisement from Game here with this angel girl on the back, and of course you read it from right to left, so... And, it's just totally anime, total weeb material, essentially. And so I use this as a material for a while trying to learn Japanese. For those of you who are wondering, I basically, of course, got to the point where I could write and understand katakana and hiragana, but once it got to kanji, it was like this is it's too much. It's not worth it. Essentially, it was fun learning hiragana and katakana, and yeah, there's a bunch of nice Miku art in here, and this is what a real Japanese magazine is like. So there's just a lot of pages and a lot of content in here, and I'll try to show you guys kind of what that looks like. But yeah, I try to like decipher some of these characters, read them, and be like, oh, I know what they're saying, and then I'd move on. Oh god, this is a Lucky Star comic? What the hell? This is crazy. And then I think these are reviews for games, upcoming animes. Man. Yeah, a lot of cool stuff. Oh, it has like a little manga teaser essentially. So it's kind of like, hello, hey, check out our manga, our art, essentially, whatever. But yeah, just lots, and another manga. So lots and lots of anime stuff. Very cool. Oh god, I think the entire half of this. So now back to like game reviews. It's interesting in Japanese you have a lot of vertical writing as well, so you'll see like these vertical strands a lot. Autism Galore. Another manga preview. Oh, here, and there's an ad for Steins Gate. Cool. Yeah, so I mean, I have that in my collection. Here's an edition of Nintendo Power. I used to subscribe to Nintendo Power for quite some time, and I guess eventually I just I had probably like 50 copies or something, like issue. But no, I subscribed for Nintendo Power for probably like 4 or 5 years. I started in high school, and then by like after that, it kind of dwindled off. It was really getting replaced by things like IGN. It was still fun to read, but man, Nintendo Power was weird in certain ways because they'd be forced to advertise certain games that are just not the target Nintendo demographic. And this was during the Wii era, so they had like, oh hey, there's Scarface, the video game. Or the one game that was so advertised was some mushroom game that did not look good at all. Like it boggled my mind why it got so much press. I guess they could sell it via that way, but this is really cool. This was kind of when the Wii was really coming out, and I remember when the Wii was coming out, it was called the Nintendo Revolution was the code name. And so it was called We Came, We Conquered, 25 games that rocked E3. Oh man, this takes me back. But yeah, this was just, peak Nintendo times. So I sold my collection to someone. Someone actually bought it, thank God. But this is the one issue I decided to keep just because as a little time capsule. Because this was the beginning, I guess this was like 2007 or something, so everything was changing, everything was adapting to this whole new paradigm of next gen, and Nintendo's next big IPs for Zelda and Metroid and Kirby and everything else, and yeah, I just wanted to hang on to that. Yeah, this is a Edge magazine. I really didn't like Edge. This is 169. This is when Twilight Princess was coming out, so this was also a really big deal. Twilight Princess probably has my favorite artwork out of the entire series. Yeah, they're showing out the PS3 and stuff. Oh, this was so cool. Devil May Cry 4 was new. Yeah, I peak 2007. It was really a fun time to be around. I said I don't really like Edge and the other game magazines because there was this stereotype and this kind of mode back then that, oh, if you played mature games, you're a mature gamer and Nintendo sucked. And, it didn't matter if your game was good or bad. It was appealing to kind of like the teenager boy mentality where as long as it was edgy and like cool, then it didn't really matter. Oh yeah, Lair. Remember Lair? Oh my god. Oh jeez. So yeah, this was kind of like they're showing, the new age. This is, oh man, Mass Effect. Hey, have you heard of this game called Mass Effect? It's a little quirky game. From Star Wars to Star Trek, BioWare prepares to revisit space on their own terms. Yeah, no, this is a really cool era. Oh, man. Because, you felt everything was evolving at this point, just not technology, but also software. Zelda was taking on a more mature tone. You're having new series like Assassin's Creed. So in terms of technology, storytelling... Oh, speak of the devil. So this has probably my two favorite next-gen or 7th-gen games in it, which is Assassin's Creed and Mass Effect, and says here, playing God. Oh, my God. And then, boom. And so it's kind of like, oh, this next big thing. They talk about the Zelda series in general. These are beautiful, sheets, the way they're, drawn, laid out and everything. It's really, really nice. Kind of makes me, a bit nostalgic. I mean, obviously now we have internet outlets and GameSpot and... Wait, is GameSpot still around? IGN still, obviously. Remember GameSpy? Yeah. And Okami. This was just like a little time capsule. Then it's very nicely done. And for people who are yearnful for the days of physical media talking about games, physical journalism before video game journalism became a joke, this was something really nice to have. Especially back then. Like, yeah, people talked on the internet. Yeah, you heard things. But to have like a dedicated team of like 5 or so people make a catalog of art and advertisements. I mean, like here's Killzone 2. Like, just to garner the idea behind something rather than the game itself was such a big thing. And this was just a hype book. Like, what you're getting, and now you don't have. I guess we just have YouTubers talking to their cameras, about game news. But back then, it was like you could make a proper, like, organized, interesting, like thing that makes you feel part of a community, even though you don't meet any of these people. But it forms the consciousness around it. Really cool stuff. I'm really, really nostalgic for the stuff like this, and I'm really glad I still hung on to it. Our Dumb World. This is a very funny book. It's a political comedy book about the World Encyclopedia. I think for like North Korea, they did this whole thing where they were pretending to get your credit card number. For Chile, they did all these jokes about, they would just push them off the edge. Out of control skier ending up in the ocean. One big wave away from obliteration. Path of the Great Western Expansion. This was, so it has all this fake information about the world, but it's presented as real information. This was really funny. Madagascar is ruled by lemurs, as you can see. Sudan, all better now thanks to you. Everything is forbidden in Saudi Arabia. Miss Saudi Arabia was traditionally given 100 lashes for winning the beauty contest. Oh man, this was really, really funny. So yeah, then look at the goat with an AK-47 around its shoulder. This was just very funny. So Our Dumb World by The Onion. Yeah, The Onion's still in business. I think they make like little YouTube videos now. But yeah. Oh, and then down here a bunch of guides to video games. So let's see here. We have Metroid Prime 2, Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic, Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell. For some reason, you don't need a guidebook to be that. Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker, kind of useful. I don't think I really used it too much. Legend of Zelda, another guide to The Wind Waker. I guess I have 2 of them. Assassin's Creed guide. I did actually use that to get all the flags. An achievement that definitely isn't worth it, but you can do it. The Legend of Zelda: Twilight Princess. I remember buying that thinking I'd need it, but that's when I realized either I just got really smart and my brain developed and I was able to figure out video games, or Twilight Princess was very easy. And then we have a Legend of Zelda official sticker book. I know, I love stickers. I don't really use them, but the idea of using them some point is entertaining to me. Putting them on stuff, but I don't think I've ever actually used any of these stickers, but it's kind of cool. Here you have the entire cast of Ocarina multiple times. It's too bad they're just in squares instead of silhouettes or something. I should bring this with me somewhere. I should bring this with me and put this on stuff. Yeah, just kind of cool. You can tell there's a certain video game series I really like. And then we have, the Yasna, the Sacred Gathas and Hymns of Zarathustra, one of the earliest works of Zoroastrianism. I talked about this book before, that it's not very useful in terms of actually understanding Zoroastrianism. It's just a lot of chanting and mantra and whatever. Let's see, I have my Canadian firearm safety guide for handling firearms safely. I have my old Japanese teaching textbook for learning Japanese and all my old notes. And squished in right between here, I've read The Tiger by Julius Evola. And then right here, this little piece of paper that's kind of stapled together is the Communist Manifesto. I thought, well, since they believe in equal distribution and free things, I'll just take that for free then. As I said, my FMA manga collection, the Bhagavad Gita, Republic of Plato, Epic of Gilgamesh, Harry Potter. Oh, this is something I haven't looked at. This was a weird one. Again, another Zelda book. But this was kind of like something through Scholastic. And it basically did the whole retelling of Ocarina of Time, but in more of a children's kind of storybook. And so it has screenshots from the game as well as, text. So this, again, my parents originally got me into Legend of Zelda to improve my reading, and, well, it did. So this was something I really, really cherished as a kid. Ocarina was definitely my favorite game ever, period. What's also nice here is they also do this thing where they have like these big embolded Old English font for the start of every chapter, and it just kind of covers off, the entire story very, very quickly. And just a nice little book that I kept. Fear and Trembling, The Wizard Stone, and we have the works of the ancient Latins, the Iliad, the Odyssey, and the Aeneid, which all kind of, by Penguin, they all have the same kind of font and theme, which is pretty cool. I like that. And also what I like about these books, actually, in general, is that the pages are done in kind of like a frayed manner. I've never seen anything done quite like this before, but it really adds the feeling that it's a piece of parchment rather than a book. Something similar, I would say, actually my favorite style book is definitely the Divine Comedy that I have here. I was actually inspired to read this book just from the cover alone, and just the fact that the entire thing is like golden and gilded on the side here. It's really nice, and it has a little like bookmark thing, a little tassel. I bought this book because I saw it on someone's bedside, and I was like, oh yeah, that's like a cool story about a guy who like goes through hell and stuff. And I was inspired by that. It's a beautiful, beautiful book. So sometimes you can't judge a book by its cover. And then we have a bunch of kind of loose books on the shelf here. Let's see, Cambodia, Carl Jung. What is this? Pensée by Blaise Pascal. Industrial Future. The Light of Sex by Nadlowska. Baron Trump's Underground Journey, White Fragility, Alice in Wonderland, Brave New World, Le Fleur du Mal. I love Le Fleur du Mal, it's so nice. And The Hero's Journey by Joseph Campbell. I might talk about these eventually. These are actually I probably won't, honestly. These were the Halo books, and so these were really nice back in the day. Actually, I'll show you the first one. Yeah, The Fall of Reach. I was so confused back in the day which one of these came first, because this one is called First Strike, but this is the third book in the series, because the First Strike is the first time the humans retaliate, therefore it's called First Strike. Anyway. It begins with The Fall of Reach, and I really enjoyed these books, actually, because they were, I think these are by Eric Nyland. This one, the second one is by William Dietz. Basically, this is pre-Halo 1, this is during Halo 1, and reinterpretation of different events. I learned the word boot from this game, from this book, B-U-T-T-E, from the surrounding place or whatever. First Strike is between Halo 1 and Halo 2, I think. I don't remember. I don't remember. And then Ghosts of Onyx are between Halo 2 and Halo 3, and this is where it details all of the Spartan 3s, essentially, and how they came about, and Spartan 4s as a consequence of that. Yeah, this was kind of where the whole lore between, or behind Master Chief being lucky, the whole coin flip symbolism, Cortana betting on him because he was lucky. This is where that whole idea kind of came from. And this is where it also established Spartan squads, the Spartan 1 program, how like more than half the people died from that. And then and even in the Spartan 2 program, still almost about a third of them died from the chemical alterations. And, learning about Linda, Fred, Kurt, I think is in Ghosts of Onyx. Learning about Blue Team and Red Team. It's been a while since I've read it, so I definitely don't remember everything about it, but this definitely was kind of a big step in my adolescence in terms of reading something where, the font is, much, much smaller and considered more of an adult kind of book. Oh, that smells nice. Oh, that smells really nice. I don't know. I think this brings me back good memories. Also, I just love that there's Xbox on the bottom corner here. It's like you can only play this book on Xbox. Were not bad. And I remember the first time that I realized that I was reading the sequel and I'm like, oh yeah, this does read differently than this one. It was the first time my little brain was like, there's a difference here in writing styles. And I would say Ghosts of Onyx is probably the most interesting one of the series because it deals with a lot of like original material that you don't find in the games at all. That is really, I think, used a lot in Reach, the whole sort of Spartan 3 and Spartan 4 program. Spartan 3s were basically mass-produced Spartans that were supposed to like go on suicide missions exclusively, kind of like taking the Arbiter and applying that idea. In Spartan 4s, we were like, you know what, maybe we don't want them to all die in a giant headlong raid. We actually want them to be a little bit, not dying as much. And so that's where Spartan 4s came in, and they have the whole aviator or whatever helmet. This would be like my summer book. This would be like what I would try to read. Again, like the public education system failed me as far as concerned in terms of reading because they gave me absolute, not even slop, just like bad books to read. And so I had to find this stuff on my own. And this was actually a great find, honestly. Also, I don't have it here, but there's also a book series by Karen Travis, this is by Eric Nyland. Karen Travis, who did a series on a book series on Republic Commando, and I really didn't like that series. It was very boring. I was a boy. I wanted to see things blow up. I was so betrayed in the third book, True Colors, where they have this build up to this giant mission on Kashyyyk, and then there's an explosion, and Seb gets like hit aside, and like 5 minutes into the mission they decide to pull out because she didn't want to write an action scene. I don't know, but it was the most lame, boring thing. I just didn't enjoy it at all. Let's see here. Crime and Punishment, Carrie by Stephen King, and then There Were None, The Da Vinci Code, The Hobbit, The Outsiders, To Kill a Mockingbird, Lord of the Flies. This is interesting, actually. I could talk about this a little bit. This is the Nier Automata book. Long story short, this was a gift to me. I'm a huge Nier fan as well. And so basically, mostly it's just... this is just kind of like a retelling of the same story. What is nice, though, is that this book has some extra scenes with Eve and Adam, and it helps develop their character and their relationship a little bit more. Because it's like, okay, Eve is angry that his brother's dead and he goes crazy. Like, that's all we really know about him. So this book helps flesh out his character a little bit more. Not as much that I think it's worth reading, but someone did just give me as a gift. And I remember it being okay, The Kabbalion. This is my Islamic Quran. I say that because I also have a normal English Quran, obviously, which I do read in, but here is, an example of what that looks like. And so you have, all the dialogue, essentially, and I'm trying to find a beginning of a surah. I think that's the beginning of a surah, I'm not sure. But yeah, obviously, I don't read Arabic, but just something nice to have in my, house, and just to kind of look at it and be like, so this is what it looks like, kind of thing. Oh yeah, here is War and Peace by Tolstoy. This one was a battle. Well, not a battle to get through. I mean, it was enjoyable, but it's just very long. Like, this feels like the equivalent of like a BBC mini series in a book. So we have, Dune by Frank Herbert, Of Mice and Men. It's funny, this version of Mice and Men, this is a tiny book, but a huge impact. I remember I picked this up in chapters and was reading it. And I read the whole thing while I was in the chapters, and I thought, well, I have to buy it now. And it'd be an interesting challenge that when you go to the bookstore next time, try to see how much of the book you can read to see if it deserves the price that they're selling it for. I feel that's a more interesting way to look at this kind of thing. I promised I wasn't going to get nostalgic, but there is one book series from my childhood that I don't think I've ever seen anyone else talk about, and it is so dearly beloved to me, and that is Deltora Quest. I don't think I can really review this book or this book series simply because, I don't know, it's early children's literature. It's very simple, very straightforward. My God. You can tell here from this, but I remember that I was crazy about this book series. Not crazy, but like, I don't know. I didn't really use the internet to ever talk about this thing. There's just kind of this thing that existed, the Forest of Silence. I don't know. There was something about this book that really captured my imagination. It was like proper fantasy literature at a time when I had nothing else to read. Like, I mean, nothing good to read. As I told you, all the books that the school gave me were absolute garbage. Deltora is a land of magic and monsters. Yeah, no, this definitely, and, the evil Shadow Lord is plotting to invade the land of Deltora and enslave its people. All that stand against him is the magic belt of Deltora, with its 7 stones of great and mysterious power. Oh man. I have a very fond feeling for this book. I don't remember anything about it, but I have a fondness for it, I guess. And I remember just the whole premise is that you had this circlet, essentially, and each stone, essentially each area you would go to, and there'd be a stone, and there'd be a boss, or some kind of... It was very video gamey. It definitely reminded me a lot of Zelda Ocarina of Time, which is maybe why I bought it and was so into it. But basically you would needed all 7 stones, and you would link them together, and it would create this, power that would defeat the Shadow Lord or whatever. Very, very classic, simple stuff that definitely appeals to my... Honestly, this isn't bad reading it. It's decent. But I feel like I just can't talk about it because it's been too long. I forget all of the story. I just remember I have fond memories of this. I just wanted to share this with you guys. Also, what's really cool is on the spine, there were 7 stones, and each book would have a different, stone. So this would be the first stone, and then it would go on throughout the series like that. And I thought what was really cool is that each stone was like a different weird thing, like opal and lapis lazuli and emerald and ruby and all that stuff. But as a kid, I'm like, what's an opal? What's a lapis lazuli? What are these magical things? So yeah, I don't know. I'm just really glad to talk about that book series. And then 4 more for the Shadowlands, and then 3 final ones, I think. And then there were 3 final ones, and I guess these were about like these giant monsters. But the first one was getting the 7 stones. The second one, they had to go to the Shadow Realm where the Shadow Lord was from, and defeat the 4 corners of the world. And then I guess there were 3 monsters or something. But look at this cover. Look how shiny it is. Look at that holographic. I mean, come on now. That's cool as hell. Again, another Zelda book. I have so many of these. And so this was done by, what's her name? Yeah, Akira Himekawa. And it's just a retelling, more or less, again, of The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. Really beautiful art. Like, oh my god, like that's really, really cool. And she also, I think, also drew the final part of Hyrule Historia, which is a giant kind of compendium of Zelda lore and all this stuff. And she wrote this final manga at the back of it, and it was beautiful. It's one of the best in terms of manga art. It's really good. In terms of story, it's really good. Where Link essentially is this punished hero, and this was time when Skyward Sword was coming out, so they're trying to do like an origin story kind of thing. And she did her own origin story, and I kind of like it better than the actual game. I'm not a fan of Skyward Sword, but like the art in this thing is really good. It has that classic 90s energy, you know, a bit of like, you know, funny scenes with Navi and whatever. And yeah. What was also weird about these manga is that, you know, it would finish the main story like at like 80 or 90%. They also had this little side story where I forgot about this, where Volvagia was like a little dragon that Link met when he was a kid, and he nurtured it, and then he had to kill it as an adult, and it's this big like moment. Yeah, I don't know. That was just so. She had her own input. So she didn't fully replicate. I mean, she replicated most of it, but she was able to at least do this little thing. So yeah, here's like Link with Volvagia as a baby, like in this cage, and he takes care of it basically and trains it to breathe fire. And now that's an adult, it's been like cursed, you know, by Ganondorf, and so it's more emotional now because now there's an attachment to this character. And so I think she does 2 for every book, or for every game rather. So there's 2 manga for Ocarina, 2 for Majora's Mask, Wind Waker, etc. And I only got the ones for Ocarina Majora's Mask, I think. There's one that I was really interested in, just because like I already knew the story, but the art was really nice. Actually, this is the first one, which is based on Ocarina. But what I find is like her mangas, they'll like stop at 80%, and the next 10% is like of the next game, so it encourages you to kind of like buy the next one. So the Dot Hack series, Dot Hack is also one of my personal favorite IPs. This one is more of a novella kind of style. I think this is a novel based on the games. I actually do have the first Dot Hack game, Infection or whatever, and I hate it. I actually really enjoyed the Dot Hack anime and the Dot Hack IP in general, but I cannot play the games. I do not care for Kite. I do not care for Haseo. I actually only care about Tsukasa. Tsukasa is the only one I actually have an interest in, and this is just a recap of the game, so this gives you all the context for the anime, but yeah, no. This was okay. It was kind of cool, but yeah, I'm a big sucker for the Dot Hack series. I think it's really, really cool, and just overall very comfy. Just the whole kind of taking the comfiest parts of video games and the whole kind of comfy MMO hometown and just turning that into like a little series. It's my little dictionary. And this was interesting. I was in Turkey, and this is a testament of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, I believe, but all in Arabic. And here is my English Quran. This is something that I read on the way to university on the subway quite a bit, and I would underline certain passages and whatever. And this is, given away by like the local guy on the street corner who give away this book. But I have The Call of Cthulhu and a couple other manga. Otome Dowa Doku Yuri. And this one is a really cool art style, and what it is, it's a little manga about witches, but they're like Western style witches. And so there's this little girl who's essentially lost, and she gets adopted by this older, kind of sexy, kind of, powerful witch. And so it's just like little like slice of life of their little little day. Yeah, this is just a really nice kind of book. And again, I was still trying to learn Japanese, so I thought it would be good to help me. There's this chapter where she gets kidnapped by the village, and they're going to execute her, and the little girl has to come out and save her, essentially. This is really cool, where there's this whole arc where she tries to become a witch, and she just does like magical girl things because she thinks that's what being a witch is all about. And here's the first edition, or one of the first versions of It's Not My Fault That I'm Not Popular. I love this series. I got a little bit stale after like 100 chapters, but Kuroki is my kin, let's say. And so I couldn't pass up the opportunity to own the original version of this, or this incredibly super awkward girl who is constantly overthinking everything, is a massive nerd, and also a little bit of a degenerate and a pervert. Yeah, nothing like me, right? So I love her reactions to everything. I love how she's like super anxious to go buy like, stuff from the store. She's always in her head, always kind of self-obsessed, always thinking people are talking about her, whatever. This one time when she tries to talk to these two boys or whatever, in the rain, she almost like craps her pants. I think the best scene is when she's standing in the rain and she tries to say something really cool, and she's like, "Hey guys, I'm gonna go take a massive dump. See you later." And she breaks down in the bathroom being like, "I'm such an idiot." Yeah, no, I see a lot of my younger self in this girl, to the extent where I find it very funny. I wasn't really a fan of the anime because they added just a lot of sound effects and stuff, and just, I don't know, the tone and the pacing was off. The way I felt this entire story went was a lot more subtle, and they had a lot of slapstick to the audio, but, it's whatever. And this one is a weird one. This is something that I haven't really read. This was kind of like a gift. And it's a weird thing. It's this is a poetry book, but it's during the Civil War in America, the Bigelow Papers. And so I guess Bigelow was a Yankee talking or writing poetry about the South. And yeah, I've read a few of this, but I don't really have a lot that I can definitively say or do a book review on it. Like it's kind of nice, kind of quirky old English, I'd had some ribs broke 6, I believe. I hain't kept no count on 'em. When pensions get to be talk, I'll settle the amount on 'em. And now I'm speaking about ribs, it's King O brings to mind one that THET, that I couldn't never break. The one I left behind, if you should see her, just clear out the spout of your invention, and pour the longest sweetening in about an nominal pension. I ain't so expensive now as a keep, or else I would be used to be. So it's kind of like a Cockney English American poem. It's kind of fun to read once in a while, but again, nothing I have super interest in, and it was a gift, so I was like, whatever. Hi everyone, I almost forgot quickly. So everything on this half, behind all of my manga, is actually a collection that my grandfather had of all of Shakespeare's works. So all of that is all Shakespeare in the back there. And again, I've kind of already made my point clear. It's better to watch Shakespeare than to actually read it. And with the power of the internet, you can do that whenever you want. So honestly, was kind of glad I did this because I was able to reorganize this, and I realized I could actually save some space here because I was really, this bag of Vegeta was really being a bag of bad book planning because it was really just encroaching in on some of the other things. But I was able to like reorganize it and make it more like this, so that actually is a good thing. But there is still one other place, and I'm not sure if you can see this on the camera or not. There's a little drawer here. This is this is my notebook for my bartending class for when I was really into bartending and I was really into making some nice stuff. So this is about all the ounces, how much you pour, how you make certain drinks. I basically made everything in here. I had a whole phase for like 2 years where I was just like, bartending is cool, getting drunk is awesome. Other things too, oh man, these are some childhood books almost. Again, another Zelda book. This one's definitely based more so on Link to the Past though. Gosh, this is from the library. So gosh, you can see like, man, it's like, this is like 80s Link. Like this is like the Link from the TV show where he'd say, golly. Or no, that's CDI, but he would say like, well, excuse me, princess. Old stuff. But yeah, I'm again very happy I held on to this. A Sonic book. I was also a huge Sonic fan. When I was a kid, I loved Sonic. Sonic and Zelda were my two. Oh my god! It's the meme. It's the no fun meme. Holy! Oh my god! I totally forgot about this. Oh my god! I can't believe that is real. I mean, I know all these memes are real, they're taken from stuff, but I totally forgot about that. Oh my god. And this is very much based off, the Sonic AM show, I think. And so I forget what happens here. Like, this is really weird. This is like, what was her name? It was Billy Sue or Jetty Sue or whatever, but she's like pink and black in here. She's off color. I don't think that's how she was in the show. I don't remember. That's a weird Mandela effect, if anything. I remember Antoine. For some reason, out of all the characters, I remember Antoine. He was the snivelly little guy. And so Sonic has to find his shoes again or whatever. I can't believe there's a meme in this book. So that's where that comes from. I guess now we know. Oh gosh, another one. Super Mario Bros. 3 Happy Birthday Princess Toadstool. Why do I have so many of these? Did I steal all these from the library when I was a kid? Nice of the princess to invite us over for a picnic. Gay Luigi? What does it actually say? Mario and Luigi were walking down a pathway for the land of mushroom people. Mario was feeling very sad indeed. Why are you sad? You should be very happy. After all, we just received an invitation to, I love this, Princess Toadstool's birthday party. For those of you who don't know, localization in the 80s and 90s just was like whatever, mostly in the 80s. So Princess Peach, I guess, didn't make sense. I guess it would be Princess Momohime, and that's like a classical Japanese story. I actually don't know what the lore is on that. I know the story of Momohime, but I guess calling her a peach when she's pink, but she's not a peach, and when she rules over a bunch of toads, it made more sense in the 80s to call her Princess Toadstool. Oh man, that takes me back. Now there's a fire flower. There's an old school of that, and but for some reason I knew. Oh, there you go. Lots of spaghetti. Oh, said Mario, between bites of his spaghetti and ice cream. It was no trouble at all. So yeah, I don't know why I have these. I guess I must have. Oh, this. I can explain. Tomchik. So I was clearing out my grandmother's place after she passed away, and they had all these old books in here, and so she was from Russia, and so I guess a lot of these Soviet children's books, she had them in her house, and I think it's just really funny. So Tomchik, I guess, is a little triangle. And I can't read Russian, by the way, so I have no idea what this says. I guess there's a thing where he's painting himself red because he wants to fit in with everyone else, which sounds like a good communist idea. And I love how he's walking here when he's obviously with his yellow underneath, and he's like, oh no, I don't fit in with my other red comrades. And then he takes off the red, and again, I've never read this, I have no idea what it is. And then I guess being an individual means you get to sit at the top of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. This exists, I guess. Tomchik. I can sound out Cyrillic, but I don't know what a lot of the words mean. Oh, there's a Canadian sticker on here, so I think this might be from the public library, and my grandmother took it from there, I guess. Oh my god. Deltora Quest Compendium. Book of Monsters. Oh, cool. This is like a bestiary. So yeah, Deltora Quest really slapped back in the day. I remember this guy. This was in the first, chapter. Really interesting designs, honestly. Like, these are really not bad at all. Really interesting, again, designs. I remember this one was one of my favorites, just the art of this giant snake king thing. But yeah, Deltora Quest. Oh my god, look, it's the guys from Breath of the Wild, the Ninja Clan. I forget their name. Oh, these guys are cool. The Sand Beasts. They were these weird, like, spider-like guys in the desert. I mean, Deltora Quest went hard, honestly. I mean, I think the author deserves more credit. Emily Rhoda or whatever. I feel like this could be a meme image of sorts. Nevets. Are they she's shapeshifters? Oh god, here's comics that I remember buying secondhand back in the day as a kid, and trying to get into comic books. And yeah, I'm not a comic book guy. I never really liked comic books. I never liked the art. I never found the scenarios interesting, or the characters or whatever. I'm sure these might be worth, something now, but I don't really care. It's kind of like, oh, here's Captain America saving the day. I've never been a Marvel guy. I've never been, of that ilk, essentially. I was kind of like, yeah, this is fine. I remember there was one of these though where it was a team of like women with superpowers who like, they go into like this jungle forest, and it was actually really dark. Like, a lot of them didn't come back alive, and one of them had this weird Akira-like powers, and she like turned into this blob and absorbed people and killed them. It was like really like probably shouldn't be reading this as like a 9-year-old or whatever. Yes, the works of Robert Flood. I love this book. Robert Flood's work is really interesting because you can tell, oh, this is esoteric symbology, but he's trying to express something that he himself doesn't fully understand, or he's trying to do it in a poetic way. Bloodborne art book. I love Bloodborne. It's a very cool series, and so the art from it is also extremely neat. I love all of the Gothic architecture, all of the tall, pointed structures. The body horror thing isn't really my thing, so really I'm just here for the Gothic style things like that. Like, look at that. Oh, like that kind of thing. This kind of thing I should probably put out for people to look at, but it's just like, it's also kind of creepy and weird at the same time, so like average people would not be interested in this, My old Pokemon card collection, my Yu-Gi-Oh card collection, and some other card games in general. I never got into Magic: The Gathering. But yeah, that's pretty much everything. I think if I get another milestone, I might do something like this again, like maybe go through my game collection or some of the other shelves here. A lot of artwork right here actually that I could go through and just show you guys. But again, I think this is good for now. We've gone through all the books, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll see you later, guys. Bye.